Well, good day, everybody. It's Monday today. Feels like Tuesday because I was here yesterday, Sunday. But anyway, we're back on track, and the first boats have squeaked across the equator. In fact, everyone, a bunch of them now, going through, and looks like the first boats, Penjuic and L'Esprit de Keep, are out of the doldrums. They'll still have variable weather, but they're on starboard tack, which is suggesting to me they've made it across and they're in the northeasterly trades. So that's kind of cool. That's allowed us to calculate our first estimate of when we think the boats may arrive, the first boats and so on. So there's a group. If we look at Penjuic as possibly the first boat that's going to reach the finish line, touch wood, if everything goes well, I reckon they might turn up somewhere around about the 10th. And then there's Helsinki and Translated and so on. But if we just work on, I've done two boats. I've worked out Helsinki and also Maiden. And I think Maiden will probably arrive about the 13th. So, and then there could be any number of boats between that or around that or whatever. And it's still incredibly variable. When we get to the 1st of April, we'll have another look at what I think it is. And then those lead boats will absolutely be up in the trades and making reasonable time, and we'll get a peek at what we think the weather might be as they go north. Some of the forecasting, even though we get it over sort of 7 days, gets a bit iffy after 7 days. It gives you a trend or an indication of what might happen. But for now, we're saying somewhere between the 10th and 13th, we might see the first 4 boats arriving, something like that. So we'll address that as we go further north. Anyway, nothing really outstanding in the tweets except for the fact I just saw some photos that came in from that boat, Explorer, and jeepers, I don't know how they do it, but anyway, they've completely trashed their main Genoa furling system, which was a new one we fitted in Cape Town because they completely trashed the Reckman furling system. So we put a massive pro furl on, one of the biggest names in the world, and somehow they've completely raunched the furling tube, the foil, off the. They smashed it, just twisted it off somehow. Don't know how. Smashed the drum. Must have dropped a spinnaker pole on it or something like that. And now it's a bit of an issue. So they've, believe it or not, out comes duct tape and some string. And I'm not sure how long it's going to last, but it's not a good-looking furling gear at the moment. So that's a bit of a. I've got no idea how they did it. Anyway, stay tuned for the photos tomorrow. You'll scratch your head and think, right, okay. So it's not going to make them any quicker. So, the tweets are up on post below this one on Facebook, so you can read them. And let's go straight to the tracker now. They should have the new positions up, and we can look at what's going on. Okay. I won't even talk about Explorer's position yet. That's what I predicted yesterday. But there you go. So you can see now, here's the equator. So we've got Penjuic, Esprit de Keep, Helsinki, Spirit of Helsinki, and Maiden, also Translated, and Neptune just squeaking across the equator. So they're in the northern hemisphere and heading towards Cowes. So that gives you an indication. Actually, everyone's still moving, even though albeit a bit slow. So let's pick this up here, and we'll start off down the back. And as predicted, that boat, Explorer, is sailed into a hole. Oh, they sped up. That's okay. 5.9. They're only doing 4 knots in the previous 4 hours. But there's this usual, everyone knows about it, when you get the trades, when they hit here. This is a massive hot area of land, and the air, as the trades are coming up, they do one of two things. Further down, you'll see they trend down. They start to head south. They bounce off this hot rising air over the land. And if they don't do that, if you're up the top, as it gets to the coast here, it's a well-known phenomena. See all this? No wind, no wind, no wind. No wind, no wind, no wind. And for some reason, Explorer decided to go into the no wind zone. They're going for a cruise up the coast. So they've got a bit faster. So they've doing 5.9 knots now and 147 mile a day. So that's better than the 4 knots they were doing previously. So that's their lot. And then over here was Sterner, still maintaining 8.4 knots. Did 185 mile a day. And then I just spoke to Triana. Be up on SoundCloud shortly. They're happy to be moving again, but they're now coming into the realms of the doldrums. So that could be anything now. Doing 6.6, that's okay. Still very hot on board, but everything is well. Everything's working on the boat. They're just a bit miffed because they lost all that ground in the previous week. So wondering how on earth they're going to try and catch up and pull out of this one. But anyway, happy for now. 151 mile day alongside White Shadow, doing 8.1 knots. So that's a little bit better than Triana. So they're pulling ahead, and they did 179 mile day. Evrika, 6.3 knots, 143 mile day. And again, they're in the trades, but they're still moving. So that wind gradient is keeping them going, except for Outlaw, only doing 3.1 and a 72 mile day. So they're slowing up. Galliana, that's sad, 2.8 knots and a 71 mile day as well. There's going to be winners and losers here. You can see a patch of breeze there over by Evrika. Nothing by Outlaw, but at least it's showing a gradient. So they're still moving, and let's hope it stays that way. So Neptune off to the west, 4.9 knots, just reaching up here towards the trades. This is them, and I looked at Windy. Windy's giving a very similar indication as well, but still a little bit more patchy. Anyway, 4.9 knots and 98 mile day. Translated 9, bearing away a bit. Oh, they've slowed up. They weren't doing too bad in the previous slot, doing about 5s or something, and now they're on 3.3. 74 mile day, so slowing up a bit. Spirit of Helsinki, 3.3 knots. They won't be liking that, but 127 mile day. And Maiden, 5 knots. They'll be liking that. And 98. So they did 98. Helsinki did 127. So very fluky and patchy. A little bit all over the place. They were moving. Oh no, 5. I think they were doing 5.5 or something the 4 hours before that. So that's still not too bad. This is the big one. Oh, Penduic's either holding up. No, she's in a hole. That's interesting. 3.6 previously. She was on starboard tack, and with this gradient here, the from the northeasterly trades, it looks like there's plenty of breeze, but it's obviously not the case, and so that's a bit of a surprise. Still managed 137 mile day, but 3.6 knots, which isn't fast at the moment. Anyway. The Esprit de Kit, 6.2 knots and 125 mile day, 125 against 137. The Penduic's moving away. That's suggesting it's still a little bit patchy there. I've got Windy on the side ready to go, so we'll have a look at that in a minute when we look at what's going to happen in the next few days for the weather. So come back here. So this is... as you know, there's 3 different models, and we'll look at that in a minute on Windy, but it's looking pretty reasonable still. It's not big holes like this of nothing, which are really super frustrating. There is a bit of breeze that tends to keep them all sailing a little bit, and that bit of breeze in its own right means that there shouldn't be as many thunderstorms and squalls and clouds and so on. It should be more or less just lighter sailing versions. Okay, so that's my interpretation, my impression of what's happening. So to scroll right back and have a look at what's going on in the big picture, what's driving the weather, pretty straightforward. There's a big high up here in the North Atlantic. That's doing its job. So it's just pushing the trades down here. So definitely northeasterly trades. Over here, you're starting to get what looks like a traditional South Atlantic high. So there's all the trades coming across here. Southeasterly, but it's gone more easterly. So you've got those two converging, but because they haven't been strong in the past, no big bounce effect, no massive massive doldrums there. It's not too pronounced. In fact, I might now go straight over before we get into it and just have a look at Windy. So I've got to go back here, boom, and then come over here to get Windy up, just to discuss what's going on. Then I've got to get on Windy. So now you can see here, this is the ECMWF model, which I usually prefer. This is what I prefer, and it's showing there's still winners and losers. There's no hard line up here for the the trades versus the doldrums, but it's showing some bigger holes and a little bit patchy on the edge. The model that's on Yellow Brick is more slanted towards the GFS model, which is down here, and you can see it's very similar. It's got this this hard edge, which is what they're all trying to get to right now. But if we put this one here, you can see there is this sort of tendency to be a hard edge. We come back to the ECMWF and it's very patchy. So yeah, it's completely changed. There's holes in here and it's still not consistent all the way through. And this usually is my preferred model. So I think that might be explaining some of the things that we're seeing with Penduic and the Spirit of Keep, for instance. So I don't think they're out of the woodwork yet. I don't think if we look at that, I'm not sure that's exactly what they're getting. It seems a bit too easy. So that's, it also runs out pretty consistently here as well. Whereas on the ECMWF, there's some big holes there. It's not as pretty as what we're seeing on the Yellow Brick tracker. But anyway, we will go back to that now, having explained that little difference, and come back to our tracker, which is that one there. Oh, I have to get that one off. Why is that going like that? Boom, boom. I've done it again. There it is. Okay, so you should be now looking at the tracker, and I'm on the tracker, and we'll increase that to get it up so we can show you what's going to happen over the next few days. See if it's fluctuating at all. Okay, so here we go for the next 12 hours. It looks like that breeze is still coming down towards Penduic, and it's certainly getting real fluky in the middle here. So here's 24 hours out. That's a big hole. I think most of these should be through that by then, but it's not looking good for Sterna, and White Shadow and Triana may be struggling to get out of there because they'll only be moving slow. So they could hold down. And what we're likely to see is what we discussed before, remembering when Penduic and L'Esprit de Keep, they were the first ones into the doldrums. And then while they were slowing down in the doldrums, the mid-fleet caught up to them and compressed the distance. So they're very close, right? So what you should be seeing now is Penduic and L'Esprit de Keep should get into these trades and bulk and increase the distance between them and Spirit of Helsinki and Maiden. But let's wait and see. That may not happen, but now you're likely to see certainly some delays on this middle fleet, and then we'll see what Sterna and Explorer are likely to experience when they get further along. So let's just keep going now. So there goes day one. Now midnight, the second day. There's a day and a half. There's a day and a half. And there's definitely a big hole there. There's 2 days. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, so there's 2 days. Let's now look at, well, by then, for sure, in 2 days, obviously, Penduic and the Spirit of Keep are out, and I'd say that Maiden and Spirit of Helsinki should be up in there by then. Translated, I'm not sure. Neptune, they should be the other side of that. They should be looking reasonable. For 2 days for Explorer, 150. If they can make 150, it'd be 300 miles. They might be just getting up to this by then. Hopefully they'll stay over this side, but then they got headwinds, so that's not looking good. And then Sterna, they're currently doing 8 knots. Boom. They could be 200 miles ahead, but they're not going to be. They'll be up in there. Sterna will probably land in this hole, and I'm not sure where Explorer will be, but Sterna should be trying to push through. Galliana and so on. Yet this other middle fleet is going to slow down compared to the lead guys. These lead guys are going to pull away a bit. So that's really about all I can tell you from there. So looking at the leaderboard here, line on, as you can see it, Penduic, L'Esprit de Keep, Spirit of Helsinki, Maiden, Translated, and so on. There's not a lot in it. So from Penduic is 3,313 miles to the finish, and 3,340 to the finish. So we come right the way down here to Maiden. They're only that's 500. So they're 160. Maiden is 160 miles roughly behind Penduic. Spirit of Helsinki is 120 miles behind, and L'Esprit d'Équipe is only 40 miles behind. So pretty close. Translated, 340, 440, 540, so 220 miles. Well and truly in touch, like we have to wait and see, but that's not looking too bad. And so it goes down the line. Outlaw, everyone's getting a little bit less than that. So let's go to IRC for leg 4. And we've got L'Esprit d'Équipe. It still has not quite 2 days up there. Oh, yeah, it's got a little bit less than 2 days up their sleeve. So that's okay. That's based on their current VNGs. Again, this is incredibly flexible. It can change around really quickly. Translated 9 is right behind them, 2 days behind, or just under 2 days behind. Then Penduic and Translated 9 right on top of each other there. So that's interesting. Very interesting if they can hold their own going forward. And Maiden 52.12. So everyone's within a couple of days. All those 4 are within a couple of days of L'Esprit d'Équipe. So all in the hunt. Same with Galliano with Secure, only a couple of hours behind Maiden. And Triana is slowly catching up. This is what I was saying. They looked as if they were weeks behind previously, but this is all calculated based on their existing velocity made good, averaged out over the distance left to travel, and it gives you an indication. Now, the reality there is that all of a sudden, Triana is still back in the hunt. 2 days to go there. If they've got to get through the doldrums yet, they haven't had that frustration, which will slow them down potentially, and then the lead boats that are on the other side will sail away. So it's anyone's game at the moment. It's really pointless even looking in some ways. But there you go. There you have it. Okay, I think that's it. I'm not going to worry about the overall standings for the IRC. Just come straight back here and say good day to everyone. I should do the IRC rankings overall on maybe Wednesdays. I'll do it 2 or 3 times a week, and as we get closer, it starts to make more sense. So, but if we do it every day, it's just a little bit irrelevant right now. Oh, good day, Mike. Gay, Bill Mike and Gay, interesting. They built a ferro cement boat back in about 40 years ago, 50 years ago or something. I can't remember. They're great mates of ours, and they sailed it twice around the world. Once around Cape Horn. A fantastic boat. It was a Samson Seabird design, I think it was, 39-footer, and they're still on board back in Australia again. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Christine's still on holidays, so that's cool. G'day, Virgo boat. Bird trade from Algrave. Oh, g'day. Hoping to fly into the UK for maiden arrival. That'd be cool. Kathleen, hi. Still got a hat here for you. We're trying to work that out straight away. Paul, g'day. Warren, Don, we got YouTube coming soon for track and notice today. Thanks. Facebook was also delayed start, but got it all. Yeah, I don't know what goes on there, but anyway. Hey, Mike. And Warren, real race, Maiden versus Triana. Sort of, yeah. Do they know? I'm not sure. No, they wouldn't know their IRC rating. I doubt whether they'd calculate it out. They sort of know where each of them are. Hi, Annie. Marie on the podium. Ooh, well, that's only line on us, only line on us. I mean, it's pretty important, but you've got a big advantage when you've got the biggest waterline for the fleet. So we keep pushing IRC as the real winner, but nonetheless, it's a truckload of fun to be first across the line. So yes, maybe, touch wood, hope for Marie. She'd love to be line on us for Penduic. I've lost track here. I don't difference between class category. Can you explain again the difference between classes and categories? I may have missed the explanation from the past. It's all on the website. There are 3 categories. There is adventure class, which is production boats, similar to the original Whitbread boats that we use. So Norda Swan, Baltic, Grand Soleils, there's there's an Oyster that can fit in there, and Nicholson 55s and things like that. And they've got to be designed before 1988. So that's the general synopsis there, and it's called Adventure Class because Adventure was a Nicholson 55, a UK defence entry in the first Whitbread race, which nearly won it, actually. If it hadn't been for broken steering, they may have actually beaten Sayula, but that's a whole different story. So then Sayula Class, which is named after the winner of the 73 race, was a Swan 65, and so it's boats from basically from 55 feet to 65 feet, production boats, same story, similar to the production boats that were racing in 73. And if you've got another design that you want to enter in the 27 Ocean Globe race, it's just the parameters have to be within 20% generally. Okay, so if you take a boat, you want to put in another design boat that was designed before 1988, that is a production boat, fiberglass production boat, and it's a 52 footer. Okay, then we'd pick a Nauta Swan 53 and look at the displacement, the sail area, all that sort of stuff, the beam, and so on. It's similar, and then the other design has to be within 20% of those parameters. So they're similar on the race course. And then Flyer Class is any of the previous boats that have actually entered the Whitbread races for the first 3 editions. That's what we use for this 23 edition of the Ocean Globe race. In 27, we actually are also allowing boats from the 85 Whitbread race as well. So ex-Fazer Finland, which is actually Spirit of Helsinki, could actually enter the Flyer Class if they wanted to for 27, but they can't do it for this edition of the race because they, we didn't look at those boats, but we allowed them in under the production boat category of Sayula Class, so that's okay. And interestingly, when we finally get the notice of race up, you'll see that we're also allowing a whole group of one-off designs to enter the 27 Flyer Class, as long as they were designed prior to 1988, as long as they have some similar reference to the Whitbread boats of the era, and that they were true trans-ocean passage racing yachts, not just 55-foot round the boys races and things like that. We would never allow them. So we're allowing a much larger number of potential Flyer Class boats in the 27 OGR, which will be interesting, because we're mindful of the fact that there aren't too many more Whitbread boats from those first four editions of the OGR. So anyway, so that'll be interesting, but don't get too excited until you see the notice of race, which defines it, explains it a bit more. We're not opening it up to anyone at all. We're just saying if they're similar, then we may consider them for entry. Okay, so thanks, Paul. Love that you do 8 a.m. in the US. Yeah, cool. I just lost that. I think we're done now on all of those. Captain Joey. Looks like Explorer's trying to ride a current. Maybe. I don't know what they're doing. But anyway, one thing I know they're doing is having fun, but how on earth they manage to trash the profile reefing gear is beyond me. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to hearing that story. Okay, that's about it. So we will see you all tomorrow. Thanks for that. See you later.